Hey kids, it's time for story time with Uncle Jeremy.
Yay!
Hey everybody, it's day 2 of NaPodMo. NaPodMo? No. NaPodPoMo. It's day 2 of National Podcast Post Month here in 2017. Or as I like to call it, Podvember, because it's so much easier to pronounce. Welcome to Story Time with Uncle Jeremy. I've got another story for you today that I think you're going to enjoy. Alright, I live in western New York, near Rochester. If you don't know where Rochester is, just look at a map, look at Buffalo, and look to your right, and we are just a few clicks away from Buffalo, home of the Bills, if you're a football fan, or actually, no other sports team is in upstate New York, except for Buffalo, on a national scale that you see on TV, or can see on TV. But anyway, I live in Rochester, New York. And one thing Rochester has going for it, besides all the rich history with the George Eastman House, or with the founding of Kodak by George Eastman, or with the founding of Xerox, and all that other stuff, we used to be called the Flower City. Rochester has a rich history with another organization out of Italy, the Cosa Nostra. That's right, I'm going to talk about the mob today, and hopefully it doesn't get me shot. That's right, I'm going to talk about the mafia. Rochester has a rich, rich history with the mob. And I'm going to call this story Cement Shoes. So strap in, grab some cookies, kids. I'm about to tell you a story.
You look terrible. I want you to eat. I want you to rest well, and a month from now, this Hollywood big shot's gonna give you what you want.
Too late. They start shooting in a week.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
All right, now, I have worked a lot of jobs. That's right, I've had a lot of jobs. I've been an employee in upwards of 30 companies since I was 17 years old. I've worked so many jobs, I've actually decided to write a book about it. That's coming soon. It has nothing to do with this story. However, just to lay the groundwork, I've worked a lot of jobs. Everything from retail to construction to the food industry to cleaning toilets. I've worked them all. Now, in the late 90s, my bread and butter was the restaurant business. I worked everything. Fast food, my first job was in fast food, and then I moved up in the world and started to wait tables. And by the late 90s, I moved on to becoming a waiter. In the late 90s, I worked in the restaurant business. My first job was in fast food, and then I moved on to working in a dish room, and then I became a waiter. That's right, I waited tables for a long time, and the worst job I ever had as a waiter was at a little family restaurant that you might have seen before, that's not around very often anymore because a lot of them have closed, was a place called Perkins. Now, I call Perkins, I had an affectionate term for Perkins because it was the worst job I ever had waiting tables, and I called it hell. That's right. I would go to work. I had such a positive attitude going to work. I said, hey, all right, I'm headed over to hell. It was hell for one reason. I worked the night shift. The night shift in the restaurant business is a strange beast, okay? Especially on the weekends. Because on the weekends is when people go out, they relax a little more, they have a couple of beers or a couple dozen, they have their mixed drinks, they party with each other, they go to the bars. But the bars, at least in Rochester, where this was, the bars, they all closed at 2 a.m. So what did people do? They had to find the perfect sponge, the perfect bar rag to soak up alcohol in their bellies. And what What do you think that perfect bar rag was? Perkins' specialty. Perkins specializes in pancakes. Pancakes apparently are the perfect bar rag for alcohol. They soak it up rather quickly, but it makes life for a waiter whose bread and butter is butter and pancakes because they have to deal with a bunch of drunk people. Right? However, you do, you do get tips. They were the reason that I would want to work, and the lack of them were the reason we would want to quit. So we liked tips, but we got to know our regulars. All right, there was this old lady who would come in like once a week. She'd get her oatmeal at like 5:30 in the morning, and she was a sweetheart. We used to refer to her as our girlfriend. She was like 80 years old. She was sweet. There was the goth kid who would come in and he'd drink coffee from about 11:30 at night until about 4 in the morning, and he'd sit there with his notebook and he'd write. He was that kind of guy. We knew him. He was an okay tipper. He would pay rent. We called it rent for the table. You got to know our regulars. Now, I don't remember this guy's name, but I'm pretty sure the best tipper to come into that place was a mobster. He was a mob guy. I'm pretty sure he was a made man. He was a big, overweight guy, and he kind of looked like Boss Hogg, if you've ever seen The Dukes of Hazzard. Big, overweight guy, thinning hair that he combed over, and he was shorter than me, and I'm not that tall, but he had a presence about him, and he always talked with an accent, He'd set the table, and he'd come in all the time with his associate, and his associate's name was Louie. That's right, he'd come in with Louie, and occasionally he'd come in with a much younger woman on his arm. Now, he'd order for the table, and he would order for the table because he didn't think they could order for themselves. So he'd say, hey, I'm gonna have, I'll bring some of those chicken fingers for the table, Hey, you want some fries? Yeah, get some fries. Yeah, Louie, you want a burger? Yeah, boss, I want a burger. All right, I'm gonna get you a burger. I'm gonna get you a burger. Get him a burger, cook it, medium well, don't want that's no blood, just medium. You want cheese on that? Yeah, boss, I'll have cheese on it. Yeah, throw some cheese on it, maybe a little bit of bacon. You like bacon, right, Louis? You right? Yeah, boss, I'll eat bacon. All right. Yeah. Order him a burger, and then he'd come in with the lady, and he'd go, all right, wait, I'm gonna, and he'd offset his own, obesity by making sure the young lady kept her svelte figure, because he'd go, hey, sweetheart, I get you a salad. Hey, get her a salad, all right? Get her a salad. You know what? You put it in one of those bread bowls. The bread bowls. Put the salad in the bread bowls. And you know what? Throw a scoop of tuna salad on top of that. You want that, sweetheart? Oh, yes, I'd love that. All right, just give her a salad, And then, I'll take a short stack of pancakes with a side of bacon and sausage. Yeah, you want a Diet Coke, honey? Yeah, I'll have a Diet Coke. All right, you have a Diet Coke. She's gonna have a Diet Coke. Louie's gonna have the burger. I'm gonna have the pancakes, the bacon, the sausage. Maybe give me a 3-cheese omelet. Yeah, give me a 3-cheese omelet to go with that. I'll eat all that, and it'll be all good, right? This is the kind of guy he was. So but he'd come in, and he'd always be a good tipper. And we would almost fight. We'd almost come to blows when we were in the galley, which is that little spot between the kitchen and the dining room, and we'd be like, I'm gonna take him. Yeah. Well, eventually we all get a chance to get a tip from him, because he'd come in frequently, and his tips were like $20, and that was a good deal, because that was like a third of your tips on a slow night, and it was like a eighth of your tips on a busy night. But still, it was a lot of money, because it was a lot of money for not a lot of work, because you'd give him his food, he'd eat, he'd throw his money down, and he'd leave. He was easy money. Well, one night, it was a weekend. I think it was a Sunday night. It was a Sunday night in the summer, so it was hot, right? And it was also busy. See, summers are a whole different animal, because college kids are back. They're working their jobs during the day. They're probably working at at a country club, or they're lifeguarding at the beach, or I don't know. I don't know what normal college kids did during the summer, because I was the guy who quit college and ended up working for a living and not making much money and all that other stuff. So they would go out no matter what day of the week it was. and they would drink, they'd have fun, and then they'd come and they'd find their bar rag in a short stack of pancakes at Perkins. That's what they would do. So anyway, it was a crazy, crazy night. It was a Sunday night, which is normally slow, but it was just insanely busy, right? But my manager, weeks prior to that, had scheduled to have the parking lot repainted. That's right, the lines in the parking lot, he would have them scheduled to be repainted. So he schedules, the painters are there, it's crazy, and the place is packed, and of course, one other group of guys comes in. All right? This group of guys came in. It was one table, and it was, let's just call him Boss Hogg. Boss Hogg was there, and a bunch of other guys, all in suits. They were all, in their mid-40s to their 60s. They were older, and they all had, like, suits on, the dark hair slicked back. They all looked good. They were wearing rings. And it actually looked like a casting call for a Scorsese movie. It looked like I should hear Henry Hill doing a voiceover. We got Jimmy Two Times over here. We got Jimmy Fats over here. We got Billy and his brother Joey. We got Billy Bats over here. That's what it seemed like. They were all there, and they're sitting there. They're having a good time. They had ordered food. They're just having a good old time. But around them, there's chaos of people, and eventually, all that was left in there was them, because the dining rooms just slowly emptied out, and there's just this aftermath of chaos in there. So we're taking our time cleaning up. We know it's a Monday morning. We need to be ready by 5 o'clock for the early rush. So we're cleaning up, and the parking lot is just finishing up getting painted. We had moved our cars, but there were 4 or 5 cars, all rather nice, still in the lot, belonging to our friends, Boss Hogg and company. So my manager, he nominated me for the job of going to them and saying, hey, fellas, we're not asking you to leave. You don't have to leave. Obviously, the restaurant's empty. We don't need your table. But we do need you to move your cars. I apologize because they're trying to paint the lines and they really need to finish up, and you're the last cars that need to be moved. And of course, they all start handing their keys to Louie. Hey, Louie, come over here. Come over here, kid. Come over here. You take my keys. But one guy, and I swear on the life of Donnie Brasco, that this one guy looked like Paulie Walnuts from The Sopranos. I'm not kidding. He had the Reed Richards white stripes on the back, on the sides of his head, and he had a little bit of a little accent, he's definitely not from Rochester. He's probably from New York, he had that accent, and he said, hey kid, come here, and he waved me over, right? Waved me over, come here. You know how to drive? And me, I was like, yes, sir. Of course I knew how to drive. That's how I got there, So yeah, I knew how to drive. And he goes, here, move my car. He hands me his key. I said, sir, is it automatic? Because, see, I didn't know how to drive stick at the time and didn't want to make a fool of myself. And he goes, kid. He just laughed at me. He's like, kid, of course, it's automatic. Now go over there. I go, which car is it, sir? You'll know. It's the Jag. It's like, okay. So he hands me his keys, and I go out the restaurant. And I see this car. I almost fell into idolatry. This was a beautiful, brand new, right off the showroom floor, jet midnight blue, beautiful Jaguar. Couldn't tell you the model number. I'm not that kind of a guy. I don't know model numbers of cars, but it was a beautiful car. And I stood there and I looked at it, and I had the keys, and I think I even hit the alarm, and it kind of, unlocked. And there's this teenage kid that's working with his dad, painting the lines of the parking lot. And he says, is that your car? And I said, no. No, it's not. He asked me to move it. And the car is just so beautiful. The kid goes, man, you're lucky. And then reality set in. I see this car. that I'm supposed to only move about 30